Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Leveraging AI podcast, the podcast that shares practical, ethical ways to leverage AI to improve efficiency, grow your business, and advance your career. This is Isar Metis, your host, and I have a really exciting show for you today. I will start with a really piece of exciting news for myself personally and for you as listeners to the show. We just crossed 200,000 downloads of this podcast. Now, when I started this podcast about a year and a half ago, I never thought that number would be possible, but here we are. So first of all, thank all of you for being loyal listeners. And if it's your first time, welcome aboard. You're joining a very large group of people that drove this number. So I'm personally very excited that we're here. To me, the number is less exciting than the importance of what we're actually doing, right? It's very obvious to everybody out there today, including recent research and surveys by the World Economic Forum that surveyed more than a few thousands of CEOs, that the number one thing that is stopping AI success in companies right now is AI skills and knowledge. That's the number one reason that AI is not growing and not helping businesses grow as fast as it can. And listening to this podcast is just one way to do this for free. And while you're walking your dog, doing your dishes, driving your car, mowing the yard, whatever it is that you're doing this. So as I mentioned, first of all, thank you so much. I couldn't be more humbled and thankful for all of you listening to the show and driving into these crazy numbers. But it wouldn't be possible without us providing real value. And the value today happens to be talking about a specific AI tool. So there are many AI tools out there, right? There's people use ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and Midjourney and Llama and every time there's like a new contender, a newcomer, like DeepSeek now with DeepSeek 3 and DeepSeek R1, which are amazing. And there's always new tools, but there's always these tools that are kind of like hiding in clear sight, and yet most people are ignoring them, despite the fact they provide incredible value and they are free. And so one of these tools is Google AI Studio. And our guest today is an AI Studio ninja. So Jimmy Slagle has been in the AI world longer than most of us. So he actually started play with AI and working with companies, helping them implement AI before ChatGPT came out. So a year before ChatGPT came out, which is more than most of us can say. And he's been focused on that universe for the last 3 years, and that's what he's been doing. And one of his favorite tools that, again, most people don't know about, or at least don't use as frequently as he does, is Google AI Studio. And he's going to share with us today on some tricks that you can do in AI Studio that are extremely powerful. So I'm personally very excited. I love Google AI Studio. I use it a lot. So I'm sure we will geek about a few of these functionalities. So I'm very excited to have Jimmy as a guest of the show. Jimmy, welcome to Leveraging AI.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm excited for this. And yeah, to date myself on when I started to use AI. So I'm from Fargo, North Dakota, which is like normally it's usually a little behind the curve in terms of technology. But I started to make a lot of content around AI in that like early 2022 era. And one of like the local news kind of journalist companies reached out and asked if I'd be willing to like talk about, my 5 favorite AI tools. And it was so early that like ChatGPT wasn't even one of those on the list because it hadn't come out yet. So, I'm sure that list that I wrote is probably completely irrelevant today. But yeah, just funny that there was a list out there that wouldn't include ChatGPT of the best tools.
Yeah. It was the days that everybody was still doing like the chat writers, right? I'm trying to think which was the one that got the first, and then they changed the name like 3 times after that. That was like the big, like blog writing AI tool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I know like Jasper AI was one.
Jasper. Yeah.
Yep.
But they had a different name back then.
Yep. Yeah. It was Jarvis because then I think Disney came
Jarvis.
after him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably one of the items on the list.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. But yeah, no,
Uh, So yeah, for all of you who are joining us live, whether you are with us live on LinkedIn or live on Zoom. So first of all, thank you. And thank you for joining us for this live session. If you have any questions, just post them in the chat. If you have anything else to add or comment, please do that. Please start by introducing yourself. Just say on LinkedIn, where you're from, what are you doing, what kind of tools you look, have you used Google AI Studio before, so we kind of know where you are in your journey. And before we get started, one last piece of information or update. we are launching another cohort of the AI business transformation course. So I've been teaching this course personally since April of 2023. So not as early as Jimmy has been in AI, but very short into the AI game. And hundreds or maybe even thousands of people have taken this course and are transforming their businesses based on the knowledge that we provide. It's 4 sessions, 2 hours each. So in a month, you can be in a completely different state of knowledge and understanding, both in means of hands-on skills on multiple use cases, as well as on clear roadmap and blueprint on how to actually implement AI successfully in your business. If that's something you're interested in doing, there's going to be a link in the show notes. We're going to drop the link right now in the live session if you're here with us live. And if you are listening off this podcast, you can use promo code leveraging AI 100 to get $100 off the price of the course. The course is filling up pretty quickly. We just literally opened it and there's already like 10 people signed up, and we don't allow more than 20 people at every single cohort. So if you're interested in getting some proper AI training for 2025, and you should, come join us and act quickly. But with that, Jimmy, let's talk a little bit about Google AI Studio. And I want you to start by telling people, like, what is it? Because it's not a chatbot, right? It's something a little different. So let's explain to people, what is Google AI Studio? And then we can dive into specific use cases.
Cool. Yeah. Cool if I share my screen and just show
Yeah,
them like,
absolutely. I'll
okay,
definitely
sweet.
share your screen. For those of you who are listening to the podcast while you're driving, don't stop and try to look at the screen. But if you want, this will be available on our YouTube channel as well. But we will explain everything that's on the screen. So if you're just listening, you're not going to miss anything important.
Awesome. Yeah. So what's interesting about Google AI Studio is this is technically for developers. It was built for developers. So people that wanted to kind of use this to then go and create their own applications that's powered by Google. This is the interface that they use. And so that's what makes it a little different than the Geminis of the world, the ChatGPTs of the world, or the Claudes of the world. So this looks a little more intimidating than what you're used to with ChatGPT. But what I love about Google AI Studio and what we're really going to dive into today is it is the only large language model, at least that I'm aware of, that's able to analyze an actual video file. And so what I mean by that is I can upload an actual video. And so if I take this, and this is like an ad, for example, I can use that as the data source instead of it just being like an image or a PDF or anything along those lines. It will take a frame per second of this video. So you can now essentially use ChatGPT for any sort of video marketing or use cases that you have, which again is pretty endless. So for example, I can say right here, like, describe this ad in extreme visual detail. And it will be able to essentially do that analysis and give you exactly what is showing up in this ad, which there's tons of use cases that we can dive into. This is a really funny, if you haven't heard of the Perfect Gene, they're very like tongue-in-cheek marketing, but yeah, so it's a really just fascinating tool. And that's what first got me interested to be like, oh wow, I never knew that there was a large language model that could do something like this. So from the beginning, that's kind of what makes it a little different from those models. We can later get into some of the other cool stuff that Google is coming out with like the real time. But for now, we'll focus just on the video analysis.
Okay, so before we dive into more of the video analysis and how it can be used, like what are actual business use cases, there's a question from Gwyn, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And the question is, what is the purpose of Google AI Studio? There are many tools out there, so just want to level set as we get into this. So I will say, you mentioned one aspect, that it was initially built for developers, but the reality is many of the tools that are in it right now are very much common person friendly. You don't need to write any code. You don't need to do anything. And when you open Google AI Studio, and to get to it, it's just aistudio.google.com, if I remember correctly. And if you go there, there's like a menu on the side of different tools that you can pick from. So it's actually a lot more than just one tool. There's multiple things that you can do with it. The first one is more or less like a chatbot. And the biggest difference between that and just using Gemini is A, it has some additional functionality than you do before. B, you have more control on how the model actually works. So you can control the temperature, which controls how kind of like aligned with reality it is versus how will it be creative. That's the best way I can describe it. And you can control some other functionality. And you're actually running it against the API, meaning you need to give them your credit card and you're running against tokens, which has pros and cons. One of the biggest pros is they always release their newest models on Google AI Studio first before it's available on Gemini. So right now, if you're running Gemini, you can get 1.5 Pro. And if you're running here, you can get Gemini 2 and Gemini 2 Flash are available to run. The biggest benefit of Gemini 2 versus 1.5 is it has an even bigger context window, and you can upload out to 2 million tokens. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's about 1.5 million words, which is by far the largest context window you have in any tool out there. So if you have a huge amount of data that you want to run through a tool and ask questions about it, the next best one is 200,000 tokens on Claude. And this is 2 million. That's 10x more data that you can upload. And they're claiming 97.7% accuracy when answering questions about the data that you upload. 97.7% accuracy is almost as good as my wife, and it's way better than the average person. And so it's a great way. If you have a huge amount of data, that's one reason to go to this tool. What other stuff? I'm interested to hear from you, Jimmy, if you have other stuff that you want to say about this and how this is different than just going to any other tool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you hit it head on, especially the context window. Like I don't think we can understate how important that is. For example, like one of the cool things, because I think we all know the prompts that you give these models really are what make them effective. And so for like an AI creative strategist, I mean, we have taken almost everything that we have learned. And so for those of you that are tuning in, not visually, this is if you paste it into a Google Doc, about a 75-page document, just teaching this model everything that it needs to know about creative strategy. So what the hooks are, what the best ad concepts are, and just everything else to make sure that it knows exactly the language and best use cases and practices in this space. And so that's what makes this a just very, very powerful model.
So again, to explain to people, this is a 75-page prompt.
Yeah.
If you load this to any other tool, you're already taken either all or a big chunk of the context window that is usable in a single chat. And here it's a drop in the bucket because there's 2 million tokens and you've just taken, let's say, 50,000. It's still 50,000 out of 2 million versus 50,000 out of 125,000 if you're running ChatGPT as an example. And so it's a huge benefit. And as I mentioned, the other thing is if you're doing research on variety of data and you're loading multiple data from multiple sources, and I've uploaded, Excel files with over 1 million rows into this, which will not open in most tools that I know, and you can still ask questions about it and get accurate information. So it's very, very powerful from that perspective. Let's jump back to the video analysis, right? So there are tools out there that can give me a summary of a video, but that's very different, right? So let's explain how is that different, and if you give examples of what use cases it can be used for, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, what you technically can do from a video is just get the transcripts. They're outside of Google AI Studio. There's no way to be able to actually get the visuals that are happening within that video. And so when you can get summaries from videos, normally that's just it looking at the transcript if it's on YouTube or anywhere else and just telling you, hey, here's everything that happens. But when you get into the world of marketing, whether that's creating organic content or creating ads, you need an AI model that's able to actually see what's happening in the video to be able to be your co-creator, if you will. I like to give people the example all the time. If I showed you, let's just say it's, a video on TikTok, and you had to close your eyes and just hear what's happening and essentially get the script of it, you can only give so much feedback on how to make that video better. But if you just open your eyes and you can see everything and hear everything, it makes it 10 times more powerful. And so that's where this tool really comes in, is for marketers, that if you're creating any sort of video content, you now just have this model that deeply understands what's happening and can give feedback to how to make that content better. And obviously we've been pretty high level, but I'm more than happy to dive into a lot of different examples of like the specific business use cases that you can use to fully get the most out of this tool.
Yeah. So again, the bottom line is it is the only tool that I know of, and again, you too, that can actually see the video, like the visuals of what's happening. So if you are either trying to analyze why some video is working and becoming viral, if you have 10 of them, so take 10 videos that went viral on whatever platform, it doesn't matter whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram or wherever, and say, okay, analyze why these went viral, and it can give you cues on what's happening beyond what was said in the transcript, but actually the structure of the video, the visuals of the video, the colors of the video, the text in it, like all of these things. This is the only tool, period, that can do this right now. So let's really look into a few use cases, how you've used this in an effective way for business solutions.
Cool. Yeah. So right away, like let's just say that, like I like to make content on social media. And a big part of making effective content is honestly coming down to, essentially trying to get people to watch a video for as long as possible. The algorithm is going to reward that. So you can take a video that you created and like a very simple prompt. And I mean, in this case, there's no system instructions. If I were to like truly use this, I'd probably add a lot more to help it know. But nonetheless, like a simple example is analyze this video and identify the main viewer drop-off points. Give me specific timestamps and suggest 3 changes to improve retention. So again, it will analyze that video. It looks at, okay, maybe these are the areas where people are going to drop off, and then gives you suggestions on how to make that video or that potential drop-off point more engaging. And so I think this is a great way to just, again, have a second set of eyes look at the video that's completely unbiased to tell you this is where it's probably going to start to lose that attention. So this is one of the use cases that I love. Another one, so this was very similar, like again, describe the hook of this video in extreme detail. Is it strong enough to stop the scroll? Beyond just retention, like the hook, the first 3 seconds has to be effective. And so this is going to dive into the hook evaluation. It will then look at the strength of the hook, and it will tell you if it thinks it does have a good chance of getting people to stop scrolling and actually watch. Another really cool one that was just mentioned is you can upload multiple video files. So it's not just one. So let's just say you have 4 or 5 ads, and you want to compare the messaging and ask like which one is most clear and compelling for your audience and why. So it will then again analyze all the different videos, the 4 that you uploaded. And I think sometimes it does bug out. Like this is very much so a model where if you give it too much data, there will be some like internal errors that can happen. So I like to kind of keep it at maybe a couple minutes for video content. But in theory, I think you're able to upload videos that are an hour long. I haven't tried to do something that long.
I did not know that, and I've never tried something that long either.
Yeah. So that might be a little tough for it, but short form, vertical videos, ads, any of that stuff. I usually like to do like 5 to 6 to just ask about this analysis, and it will give you the rundown of let's analyze the ads. It will go through and do that, and then it will give you the recommendation. So it thinks the 4th ad is the clearest, uses direct, concise language, bullet points, and yeah, the negative opening approach creates intrigue. So it's like good at being able to analyze these patterns of what is effective messaging. The other thing too, even outside of any trend analysis, is you can just use it for quality control. Let's say you're making videos and you use an editor or you use a designer or whatever, you can have this be the proofreader. So instead of you having to go and make sure all the captions are correct and there's no grammar errors or anything, you just throw it in here, ask it to proofread the ad for any typos, grammar errors, inconsistencies in tone, any of that, and you can have it just provide those specific corrections. So 4 quick examples. Don't worry, there's many more that we can go down, but just to get people's creative juices flowing.
No, this is absolutely brilliant. I want to connect some of the dots that we said, because I think there's a broader flow that I'm sure you're doing based on your 75-page prompt. So let's say you don't know how to create ads at all, and you created a few videos and you posted them wherever you want to post them, doesn't matter where, and you get crickets. And you're like, well, I'm trying to do this the best that I can. I'm trying to see what other people are saying. I took a course on YouTube, like I followed some people's guidance. Nothing is happening. How can I make this better? Well, now you have a video production consultant for almost free. And I'm going to touch on the numbers in a second because there's a question on LinkedIn, but almost free. And you can take multiple videos that are successful, that you're seeing that are getting a lot of engagement, upload them together and give it a prompt saying, hey, you're an expert in analyzing video content on this and that platform. I want you to compare these all together and figure out why they're working, what could be the reasons, and create a best practices prompt on what should be the best way to create a video that can be viral and go blah, 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 blah. And then it will create it for you. And then you can use that as a filter for your next production, right? So now you have best practices that was created based on actual success in your niche, in your platform, to your target audience. So everything is aligned with what you need to create on your own. And then you can upload your video and say, okay, now analyze it based on this. and it's going to tell you what you probably need to change as far as, okay, you need a stronger hook, you need a faster transition from this to that, you need more variation on the screen because people get bored after 1.5 seconds because we created madness in this day era that people are like, oh, it's the same thing for the 5 seconds, like it's so boring. And so pattern variation and stuff like that. But it's going to tell you all these things, and it's going to help you create better and better videos that can be aligned to the other videos that are more successful from aspects you can't even think about, right? So it will give you a lot of stuff. So really, really great stuff. There was a question on LinkedIn from Stan on, is there a way to estimate the cost of running the queries? So yeah, so all these tools, again, this particular tool runs on tokens. These are tokens from, depending on which model you pick, but in general, they're very cheap. So as an example, Gemini 1.5 Flash costs $0.0375. So 3.75 cents for every million tokens of input. So whatever you're writing in the videos you're uploading, and 15 cents for every million tokens coming out. So that gives you an idea. Obviously, 2 will be a little more expensive, but probably not by a lot. So it's completely negligible based on the value that you're going to get from that. So you can probably run a whole week of this thing for $5, right? Or probably less. And so it's really, really cheap. And yet it's different than using Gemini because it is pay per usage versus pay per month kind of thing. Any other things you want to mention specifically about the video capability, or you want to move and talk a little bit about the streamlined real-time capabilities?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say is like I put together a database of a lot of prompts that you can use. This is maybe more tied towards advertising, but nonetheless, like you could easily replicate a lot of these prompts for organic social, going viral, and all that. So I don't know what the best way would be to share this with the people that were here, but I'm more than happy to give this out so people have a good kind of prompt library that they can start with and use to just
Yeah, that is awesome. Just put it in the chat. I'll move
Okay.
it to the other chat as well. And because I'll have the link in the chat, I will post it in the show notes as well. So those of you listening after the fact, first of all, what the hell are you doing listening after the fact? We do this every Thursday at noon. You can come in, you can ask your questions, and you can get the information sooner. But if you are not available to join us on Thursday noon every week, then it will be in the show notes and you can get to this thing. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I would say too that the one other thing that I think is worth showing about Google AI Studio is because it's the developer platform, you can start to do some pretty cool things within the automation and workflows element. So in this case, let's just say that you wanted to get a summary of the ads that the Ridge, if you haven't heard of them, it's like a slim fitting wallet, something like that. And so you could create an automation. This is a tool called Gumloop. It's a no code automation workflow builder. And just like quickly, like all you have to do if you build one of these out is upload a URL. You would have an agent scrape to find the Facebook ad library account. It can then, within Facebook, you can select video, and it can then analyze. In this case, I just said like the 10 ads to analyze, and then you can create a prompt on what exactly you want to look for within those video files for a company like that, and then you can get a whole breakdown of that without having to do a single thing into a Google Doc or Notion or wherever you want this to be. And this is a 22-page document that breaks down all of the 10 ads that this company had used. So there's going to be a lot of cool use cases that will make it easier for people to be able to do cool things and kind of plug and play into different tools or data points. But this is at least one other thing to start to see like, oh, this is going to move really quick from you just needing to have a one-shot prompt to full-fledged like AI workflows.
Yeah. And again, just not to confuse people, that was not Google AI Studio. That's a different tool, but it's just showing some of the capabilities that AI is becoming more and more capable as far as stringing things together in multiple steps in a tool that can bring together different things, including videos and scraping and analysis and so on and stuff like that. There's a question from Danielle, is the feature of any Gemini account or only paid accounts? So Google AI Studio is not connected to Gemini or your account. Literally, all you have to do is sign up and give them your credit card so you can use tokens on the API. And whether you have a pro account or whatever other account, Gemini makes absolutely no difference. You cannot even ever use Gemini, and you can still use the Google AI Studio features. So next capability of Google AI Studio, right? Let's jump into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was released a little over a month ago. And there's now three different things that you can do. The first one is talk with
So
Gemini. So
just to go back, we said in the beginning, there's a menu on the left. There's multiple things to choose from. The first thing we played with is just a prompt. The second thing is called stream real time. And this is what we're talking about right now.
yep. Yep. So there's three different capabilities within this stream real time. The first one is talk to Gemini. So that's similar to like ChatGPT's advanced voice mode, where you can just have
Yep.
a conversation with an AI agent. The next one is you can actually show your camera, which we'll see how this works on Zoom, but nonetheless, if it doesn't work too well. But see, you can see that it's seeing everything in the chat that's going on live, and it's listening to what I'm saying. So if I take a second, it should start to respond and answer, kind of what I've been talking about. Normally, it gives the voice
Yeah.
overview too. In
Normally it
this,
speaks. And it
yeah,
actually generated it, but it's not saying it, which is kind of weird.
yeah, yeah. But nonetheless, if you're not on a Zoom call, it will actually talk to you as you're showing it whatever you want in the camera. And if you have your phone, like this is super powerful because then if you're out at the grocery store or if you're, on a walk and you see a cool plant or whatever you want, like you can now just be like, oh, hey, like what is this plant? Or,
Or if you're
whatever you want to do.
shopping, or if you're shopping and you want to know how much something costs online versus in the store that you're in or stuff like that, it knows all of that because it's Google. Like it's got access to all that extra information, but it can see what your camera sees. It can translate signs if you're in a foreign country and you don't know how to read the street signs or the menu at the restaurant. You can literally show it the menu and ask it, and it will tell you what things are and so on. It's absolutely magical that you can do that, actually share your camera.
Yeah. And even like, business use cases, if you're in an office and you like to whiteboard, you could show Gemini the whiteboard that you're working on or, something that's more like physically present than, just a screenshot or anything along those lines. So yeah, this is we're very early in the real-time AI, but I think that this is going to be the big wave in 2025 of apps that you'll start to see that are coming out utilizing this technology.
So there's a question, is that similar to ChatGPT? Yes. So if you have the ChatGPT app on the phone, you can do the same thing with ChatGPT on the phone. You still cannot do this with ChatGPT on the computer for whatever reason. Like even if you have the paid version and the desktop app, I'm a Mac user, so I don't know, like on the PC, they still don't have that functionality, even though I have it on my phone. So in general, there's a huge variance between different ins and outs of ChatGPT, which I don't understand. Like stuff that you can do in the regular chat, you cannot do on custom GPTs, and stuff you can do in this version, you cannot do in that version. Like there's all these different variations. So one of the benefits of doing this on Gemini is that you can do it on your computer and not just on your phone. But yes, in functionality, it's very similar to the functionality that the ChatGPT app provides on the mobile app. Uh, I want to talk about actually the third one. So the third, you said that there are three options. So option number one is just a voice. Option number two is show Gemini, basically open the camera and show you what you're seeing. And option number three is share your screen. And first of all, I'm wondering if you have any use cases that you use this for, and then I can share something that I literally tried this weekend, which was really interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple different things that I've been using this for. So the first one is as I'm building out some of these different like AI workflows, you can start to ask it like, oh, how can I looking through these different nodes is kind of what they're called. Like, which one of these would be best if I wanted to do X? And so in this case, if I wanted to, scrape Reddit to find the top threads about what people are talking about AI, it can look at everything that's happening on my screen and recommend, oh, you should go to the Reddit analysis and then connect that to this node. And so it's kind of just like your helper as you're navigating any of these more complex websites. So like that's one that I've really been using it for. Even like feedback on videos, like I'll sometimes pull up my screen so then I don't have to download it and export it, but it can just be real time of like, hey, what do you think about this video? I'll play it. It then watches it and can give me feedback in real time instead of, again, those one or two steps. So those are two quick examples of what I've been using it for. And again, as you can see here, like it's seeing what is happening on my screen. Again, normally it would be talking and giving feedback, but yeah, so that's one of a couple of the use cases that I've been seeing with this.
Yeah, so very similar to your first use case. I was working on a really complex automation on Make this weekend for one of my clients, and I got stuck on something and I couldn't figure it out. I was banging my head against the the screen, the wall, the desk, like everything. And I watched like 6 YouTube videos and I just couldn't figure it out. Like I couldn't find why it's not doing what I think it needs to do. And then like, well, wait a minute. And then I opened this and I showed it the desktop and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's where it's failing. Help me troubleshoot this. And then it knows make and it knows what I'm doing and it understands parameters. And I literally had a consultant for free helping me solve a make problem that I couldn't solve. And it ended up being something really, really stupid. But by the way, it wasn't able to help me solve it, but it helped me find the problem. And then I solved it in 5 minutes. But I just couldn't find what the hell was wrong before. And so think about the future of any software, of any computer game, of any programming problem, of anything we're going to have. First of all, on the general tools, they will know all the most common tools that we use, right? So it will know Make, it will know Microsoft Outlook, it will know how to set up things in Adobe. Like it will know all that stuff because it already does. So you can literally show it what you're doing and it can give you tips and guide you through the steps, whether you're a total beginner or an advanced user getting stuck on something very specific, which is incredible. The other thing, companies will start training it on their own tools. That will be a button. So instead of the chat with us right now button that is between you and me, worthless 95% of the time, you will click a button and there's going to be an AI that's going to look on the screen with you on what you're actually doing in your setup with your problem and will guide you through how to do this. And this is not the future. This is right now. It's just a matter of time until companies actually add that functionality to the tools. But if any software company that doesn't do it is a complete idiot because it literally is a complete game. It talks to you as if it's somebody standing behind your shoulder and showing you what to do. So if you haven't used this, even by the way, people are using it for gaming right now. So I showed it to my kids and they started like, oh my God, I can use this for this and I can use it for that. So they now have a consultant playing computer games as they're playing computer games. It's just amazing. I will say one thing, while doing my process, it got stuck 3 times in the process and then it doesn't remember because it's now a new session. So I had to start from the beginning. So that was a little annoying. But like you said, this is very, very early on in this world. And the next thing, by the way, that is to me a little scary, but there's no going back. You know, the Pandora box is already open, is all the wearables, right? All these glasses that knows how to connect to this, and then they see everything you see, whether you're outside or your computer screen or in a bar or wherever you are, and it can assist you and help you and guide you and provide you information about everything that's happening. And that's, again, from a privacy perspective, I'm not very happy about it. But from a reality perspective, there's no going back. Like a few years from now, almost everybody will wear some kind of a wearable that will be connected to an AI and to your Bluetooth headphones, and will be able to provide you any information you want about anything that it sees, which is everything that you see.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it's like this is like when ChatGPT was released, and immediately you're going to have tons of people that are going to figure out specific use cases for this tool. And that's what I think 2025 is going to be. People are going to be exploring it in wearables, in all the different vertical. Like I'm sure we'll have one for Canva that's just been trained on everything that's possible within Canva, and specifically to like good design, video editing, like all those, we're going to start to see where all you have to do is share your screen and you're going to have an expert, because again, you can give this custom instructions as well. So you're going to start to see a lot of these kind of wrappers, if you will, of this technology come out.
Jimmy, this was a fantastic session. Like we really touched on stuff I think most people, even people who are like advanced users, don't have a clue that exists. So I'm very grateful for you doing this and taking us down that path. If people want to follow you, learn from you, work with you, what are the best ways to do that?
Yeah, honestly, LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active. So just Jimmy Slagle, you can connect with me and start a conversation there. I do like to make content on TikTok as well. Fortunately, it's back, and so
it's back. Yes,
yes, it's back.
So it was gone for like 3 seconds, and then the new president said, "Well, whatever." And
yeah, exactly. So yeah, connect with me on socials. Again, like really what I do is those AI workflows that I quickly demoed. We help brands create a lot of those and figure out just how to do things better, faster, and more efficient. So always down to chat how to make your company be able to operate, especially the marketing team, in the most efficient way possible.
This is awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody who joined us, again, thank you for being here. I know you have other stuff to do on Thursday afternoons, but if you're looking for more structured training, the course is coming up on February 17th. You can find it on my LinkedIn or on my website, multiply.ai, or just find me and ask me if you have any questions. And that's it. Thanks again for everybody for joining live. Thank you so much, Jimmy. This was absolutely fantastic.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you again for having me on.